All right, ladies and gentlemen, joining us right now, I'm very happy to say, a very special guest, Anders Fogh Rasmussen. He is, of course, the former Danish Prime Minister and former Secretary General of NATO. And he's also the director of Rasmussen Global and the author of a brand new book, The Will to Lead, America's Indispensable Role in the Global Fight for Freedom. Mr. Prime Minister, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. It's a great pleasure for me.
Well, I know that in your book you talk about the vacuum that's created when America does not lead. You're also not thrilled with, and that's putting it mildly, I guess, Donald Trump and his put America first policies. But so talk though about what the world has become under Barack Obama. The leading from behind that you talk about, which I assume you will also attribute to Barack Obama. I know I do. Where we are right now, what kind of mess we've gotten into because of it.
Yeah, you might say that I'm critical when it comes to American isolationism, whether it is represented by Republicans or Democrats. For me, it's not a question about a Republican or Democrat in the White House. I appeal to the American people to elect a president with the will to lead and be the world's policeman. And when you look around, you can see the need for policemen. Syria, Iraq, Libya, Russian attacks against Ukraine in Eastern Europe, China flexing its muscles in South China Sea, the rogue state North Korea threatening with nuclear attacks on neighbors and the US. So you really need a world policeman to restore international law and order.
Well, I don't think Americans want to be the world's policemen. We've been to Iraq, we've been to Afghanistan, we've been in the Middle East, we were in Libya, we lost our ambassador. Syria is a total mess. I don't think that we in the United States, or should I say most people, think that we need to go to Syria. I think most people in the United States would feel good with the battle against ISIS. But as far as being the world's policeman, I don't think that's a big selling point. So let me ask you this. Hillary was the Secretary of State for 4 years under the leading from behind policies of Barack Obama. She's in part responsible for the mess in Libya, the mess with Russia, and right on down the line. So if you're not for Donald Trump, you really must be for Hillary. So how do you reconcile that?
Well, I think it is in America's self-interest to be the world's policeman, to take the lead of the free world. Firstly, because if you do not strike the enemies on their soil, they will hit you on your soil. We saw that 9/11. Secondly, prevention is less expensive than cure. So it's much better for the United States to prevent conflicts and knock them down while they are still small, instead of waiting to see them grow. Like in the 30s, in a run-up to the Second World War, it ended becoming a very expensive adventure, both in blood and treasure. And finally, I also think it's in America's interest to uphold an international rules-based world order that you yourself created after the Second World War. The US prospers and profits from a rules-based, peaceful world.
Okay, but if you would, with all due respect, if you would address the choices here are Donald Trump. So are you actively advocating that the U.S. elect Hillary? Again, she was part of the lead from behind strategy that you deplore. She was part of the problem, at least in my view, and she was involved, say it this way, she was involved with Libya, which you cite as a problem. She was involved with Russia, which you cite as a problem. So are you saying she would be what you're looking for?
I'm not endorsing any candidate. I mean, I am a Dane. I come from Europe. I do not vote in the American election. I just issue an appeal to the American people to elect a president who has the will and the capacity to lead the free world. If I were an American citizen, I would wait until the very last minute and I would vote for the president or the candidate who I thought have the will to lead.
Okay, then am I mistaken that you have said that Donald Trump would be his presidency would be a disaster for the world?
Well, I've said I'm very much concerned about his statements on NATO, because I think these statements have raised doubts about the American commitment to collective defense, and it has raised doubts about the strength of the NATO Article 5, the article that states that an attack on one is considered an attack on all. And I'm concerned that President Putin would be tempted to exploit that. He would be tempted to test the resolve of NATO. That's what I have said.
Okay, and what about Donald Trump's point about paying their fair share? Why should the United States pay the bulk when other countries aren't even paying what they're supposed to pay?
I fully agree that the Europeans should pay more. And actually, we also decided at the NATO summit in September 2014 that all 28 allies will reach the 2% benchmark within the next decade. It means that all 28 will invest at least 2% of GDP in defense and on defense. And we are seeing that trend already. This year, the Europeans will invest much more than they did last year, not least because they realize that after Putin's attack on Ukraine, we are faced with a completely new security environment in Europe.
Mr. Prime Minister, a pleasure and an honor. The book, folks, The Will to Lead. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Up next, Curtis Sliwa and Jack Berkman.